Finally.
It's the best. That's the best I can do. Is it bad to want my team to lose? I just want them to lose. I want them to lose so bad. This march towards mediocrity is so painful to watch every season. A little bit of my soul dies every time this team continues to hurt me over and over again, and I don't know how to take it. We pulled off a victory against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which we were supposed to have done, and we're on to the St. Louis Rams this week, another team that hopefully we're supposed to be better than, and hopefully we lose. But we have two teams that are just on the edge of playoff contention for wild card positions, and that might turn out to be a good game. But here in Buffalo, it's blacked out, along with all of these games here down the stretch that are being played in Orchard Park. What are your feelings on the Bills, the schedule, the way it's set up, and the games that are actually going to be in good competition we're not be able to watch on TV? Is that a failure of the Bills, of the NFL scheduling, or is it just kind of coincidence?
It's a failure of the Bills because the NFL did the right thing and putting conference games at the end of the season. Because before, what was happening is, the last month in December, you had everybody sitting players out. So either they would get hurt in the playoffs, or you had garbage playoff games because people were just sitting around. So they make every game count, which every game should count. This isn't basketball where you play 82 games, or hockey where you play, and baseball. It's 16 games, and every game should count. Every win should count. So they set it up the right way. The Bills just didn't take advantage of the schedule they benefited from losing.
It is so painful to know that there's good games being played and that you can't watch them anywhere in the city unless you're willing to tough, like you, some of the worst elements, just that nasty, long, soaking
driving rain.
That's as worse, as bad as weather gets here in Buffalo. You'd almost prefer snow at that point, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
But no matter which way you look at it, this week the Rams are worse than the Bills. Time once again for my favorite segment ever on Buffalo Bills pregame, Worse Than the Bills. And this is where I scour all of sports, having to search very hard sometimes for a team that is in fact worse than the Bills. And this week we'll go with the one that's right in front of our noses, the St. Louis Rams. The Rams are also suffering a pretty long playoff drought. They're a team similar to the Bills that have been defined by the absence of a great quarterback after Kurt Warner left the team. They had a little success with Bulger, but nothing to match what Warner did, obviously. Steven Jackson is a fantastic player at running back, and I think he'll go down in NFL history as a poor man's Barry Sanders. Maybe not the natural gifts of Barry, but a great running back on a very bad team who put up some gaudy numbers but never had any serious victories or success as a team in the league. The Rams this season are similar to the Bills, except that their defense is kind of middle of the field and their offense is pretty poor, whereas the Bills are vice versa. I think that though the Rams have a young quarterback who has potential, I don't know if Sam Bradford is going to end up being one of the all-time greatest here in the NFL. I think he was an above-average college quarterback that's going to end up not panning out as an NFL quarterback. So, for this week at least, the Rams are in fact worse than the Bills. Man, I love that segment. From the package right on through. Worse than the Bills. You know, sometimes it's hard to find a team that's worse than the Bills.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to play one this week. But since you have a segment, I think I need to do my segment too. So
you had a segment?
Yes.
What was it called?
So we're going to do Nakia's Knockdown this week since you had one too. So this week and the 13th week of the season, we finally beat somebody who we're supposed to beat. So guess who we're going to talk about today? Chan Gailey. Yes, I could give you a hand because you beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, but you're supposed to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. We should at least be 7-7, 7-5 now, not 5-7. The New England game with all the passing. Last week when they should have run more than they passed. We have a good running game, but of course we'll never know because Chan Gailey will always depend on Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know what's going on between the two of them and why he's so hung up on him and why we have to pass as much as we do. We got two great running backs. A lot of people would kill to have the 1-2 punch that we have, and we don't use it. So we stick to who? Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm glad he went to Harvard. I'm glad he's a smart guy. But for some reason, those smarts aren't transferring to football, or at least not to his arm. He may know the plays, but he definitely doesn't know how to get the ball to where it's supposed to go. So this week, Chan Gailey, we're talking about you. Let's give you some coaching tips. One, yes, it was driving rain, so you actually did what you were supposed to do this week. You ran the ball. Let's see if next week, depending on how the weather works out, if you still will run the ball, whether you're behind or whether you're ahead. If you have a good running game, then it works. Look at Ray Rice. He broke a 4.29. I think C.J. Spiller has it in him. He could do it too. So run the ball. Leave Ryan Fitzpatrick. Stick to some play action. Let him throw it when he has to, but definitely not on a regular basis. So Chan Gailey, stick to the run. Let's see what happens next week against St. Louis when they run the ball. So this week, Chan Gailey, you get the knockdown.
Oh, that was good. Well, those are the two only segments we've ever had here on Buffalo Bills pregame. I'm glad we got to finally get back to that here in our last season.
What about my session? Hey, what about my ranting session?
It's Sean. Who would have thought? Haven't seen him in a while. I guess Sean's going to take over for Sean's ranting session. Take it away, brother.
Now it's time for Sean's ranting session. Alright, so what really bothers me about the Bills right now is their two-back system. They need to keep that, and so both of them heard. Obviously, Fred Jackson's coming back this week, so hopefully they'll both get a lot of yards, and stop putting Shard Choice in. It's a joke. Just because he's a bigger back doesn't mean he's going to get more yards on a 1 yard, 3-and-1 or something. So that is really what makes me mad about the Bills today. There's a bunch of other things, but that's the main thing. Now back to you, Justin.
Hi, and welcome back to Justin's Trivia Corner. Long time returning here. This week's question is, what is the first Buffalo football team to finish as runners-up in the NFL? You got to give the season and the team. Reply below in the comment section to earn your prize. And this has been Justin's Trivia Corner.
And if you correctly answered Justin's question, you can get this very same box of Marios at the end of the season. Everyone involved with the show is going to sign this box, and we're going to mail it to you. So just answer the trivia question in the comments section below. Centered? So, on to the topic of discussion this week by our fellow Buffalo Bills internet pregame community member, Birch. And his question for us, Nakia, was, why does it seem that every season the Bills suffer pretty traumatic injuries? It would seem to, like, for as long as this playoff drought, this horribleness of being a Buffalo Bills fan has gone on, we've had to deal with some pretty bad injuries throughout the time.
It might be time to start looking at the conditioning. What's the off-season training program like? Are these guys really committed to being Buffalo Bills? I mean, you got to do more than just show up for training camp or every once in a blue moon if we have OTAs. I mean, the year before last, they kind of got away because of the strike, so you give them that from last year. But this year, they had no excuse. I mean, even with the strike, this is your job. You still work out. So I think one needs to look at the training staff that we have and see what are they doing to keep these players in shape, and also hold the players accountable themselves.
I am going off, in my opinion, in the matter, very little more than hearsay, and I'm willing to admit that right from the start. But I've heard that the facilities that the Bills have for the players aren't the best, that the gym equipment isn't the newest in the league, and we're not really on the cutting edge of the training, which would lead me to believe that if Ralph Wilson is cutting corners there, he's probably cutting corners in the medical staff too. I find it hard to believe that the absolute best sports medicine practitioners end up here in Buffalo. You don't hear about anyone in the area or anyone traveling to Buffalo for like sports medicine being taken care of here. I don't think this is just like a boon of the community the way it might be in bigger sports towns like New York. And keys to the game. Nakia, what do you think the Bills have to do to win this week?
They have to stop the run. They have to stop Steven Jackson. He's a good running back. He can easily run for 200 yards a game. So we just have to make sure that he doesn't decide to have a great game against us. We're known to let people run up and down the field, but hopefully this week let the defense step up and stop him.
It would be nice to watch the Bills defense stop a top-tier running back. We have problems that often. But I didn't realize until this week, and it was revealed to us, that the secret weapon to our offensive play calling just might be bad weather. That with the weather being unfavorable to passing the ball, that we very heavily depended on the running game, and it ended up with very good results for our offense. So I say if there's some bad weather, Chan Gailey will have his hands tied once again, and to keep the ball out of Fitzpatrick's slippery fingers. And I have the Bills winning the game because I have absolutely no faith in them doing the right thing and blowing the game. I have the Bills winning 23-20.
I'm with you. I think they're going to win too. And since they scored so much last week in the rain, let's hope rain or snow they score again. I'm picking the Bills 30-20.
All right, we'll be back for the next week when we're playing the Seattle Seahawks.
Yes, Marshawn Lynch is coming back.
Be excited to see him.
See if he creates any earthquakes in Western New York.
See you next week.